Good morning. How's everybody doing? We hope and we pray that everybody is well and will be better. This is not going to be a long speech or so. This is called Black People Cannot Give Up Their YT Hope. Now, what do we mean in speaking upon such as this? Recently, I saw a thing, and I saw only a part of it, in which National Association of Black Journalists was speaking with former President Trump about the statement of he being the best president for Black people since Abraham Lincoln. Now, this is no disrespect to Abraham Lincoln, but for those who know the history, he was one of the best for Black people, but was not, no disrespect intended, the best. There were Black people that were put back into slavery by Lincoln's orders. So, just using that, say, as an example, we know good and well that Lincoln's thing was not about freeing anyone, but more so about preserving the Union, which would mean that the expansion of slavery going west could not exist. Again, this is not an attack upon Lincoln or anything of that nature. The person in the interview with Trump stated to him in a question, are you saying from the era of Lincoln, I'm paraphrasing, from the time frame of Lincoln until now with yourself, Trump, that you're the best president regarding Black people? So would that include Lyndon B. Johnson, who was the president and giving, quote, Black people the right to vote in the 1960s? That is a question that was asked. And unless I didn't see that part of the interview, it was not addressed. What Trump did when he was asked questions, such as what he stated about Black reporters, Black journalists, Black people, females, and so forth and so on. And I go so far as to say, pardon the language, but just citing him, when he sat there and referred to certain places on earth as, quote, shithole countries. What are you saying in that particular case? You understand? It's something that has to sit there and be asked upon. His response essentially to that I saw was, you started late and you coming to me pretty mean in your questions and so forth. See, when you're dealing with a brat as a child who doesn't understand, being told certain things is not an attack, it's an inquiry. Unlike what some of the other broadcasters do, they prep you for the interview. He didn't know maybe what he was walking into in that particular case. You know, to be asked questions that, like Nixon, when he was asked, which was a little different because they said not to ask Nixon about the tapes, the cassette tapes and whatever regarding, correct me if I'm wrong, Watergate and everything like that, right? There was a matter, there was a thing in which he had to sit back and think, how do I sit there and address this in this particular case? Now, how does all of that tie into the title of the video, Black People Cannot Give Up Their YT Hope? Recently, I had a conversation with somebody, and it was a thing of me saying that he's not going to win the election. And the person who I was speaking with told me, well, you never know because you never know. No, nobody knows everything. But let's look at what happened when he was there for the 4 years, when he was in office. He was put on upon a matter of being impeached twice. He had a person that wanted to assassinate him during the timing of his running back in 2016. For those who do know, and for those who do know, not condoning violence, he recently was shot just last month in July by a person of the proclaimed Republican Party. His former vice president, a Republican, who actually brought out the thing about Kamala Harris and African American males when she was a lawyer, an attorney in California, and how she proportionately had X amount of brothers incarcerated and so forth and so on. Which, if she's wise, she will address that matter now, running for president. But my point getting back to this matter is this: Pence does not feel him, who's a Republican. The Republican Party, it seems to begin to see that he's not for their party. You understand? He's for MAGA, not the Republican Party, and so forth. And people who are on his team or are on his team actually sat there and spoke upon it. I also was asked, before I get to the crux of the video, if I can ever speak upon a Republican that's against him. Well, that means that people didn't, maybe no disrespect, intend to pay attention, because his former vice president spoke upon not dealing with him. His staff that was with him when he was in office began to resign left and right. Employers, when looking upon a resume, look to see how long you've been at a job, to see if you have not a quitting spirit or a spirit that people don't want to be around by termination. You understand? Well, when you look at his resume, and if we are the ones to employ the politician, for the lack of a better term or so, then we have to begin to see that, no, it does not look good in that particular case. Your chief of staff left. Your vice president left. It doesn't, want to return. You're wondering about the vice president nominee that you picked, and so forth and so on, who in the past did speak against you. Everyone who, besides, correct me if I'm wrong, Byron Donalds, Tim Scott, and Vivek Ramaswamy, the, not trying to be funny, the darkest people in complexion that was on his team. Everyone else who was on his team, from Nikki Haley and onward, in the past publicly spoke against, including the person, Vance, who is his running VP, and so forth and so on. Now, of course, this is not to say, like some people would run off and then say, oh, well, that means that you supported Joe Biden or so forth and so on. No, I did not, personally. You understand? And so forth and so on. Just because you stand on your stance regarding a particular person or organization doesn't mean that you are friends and support the other or opposite organization. And this is what Black people seem to forget at times. You have organizations that are against, to a certain extent, Black people, but yet they are not always united themselves between one organization and another. Their commonality may be against us as a people, but it does not mean, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, elders included, that they are, quote, against themselves or not for themselves 100% and so forth. So when I saw the skit about the things that he referred to people as animals and things of that kind of sort by the NABJ, of National Association of Black Journalists, he did not responsibly respond to such. You decided to attack the people who's in the said panel. You understand? You spoke about, oh, well, you didn't sit there and say, hello, good morning, welcome to be aboard. At this point, sir, nobody is feeling you like that. To sit there and maybe want to welcome you with open arms. You might want to sit there and find out about the person who shot into your ear or by your ear. You understand, before you start to sit there and speak upon a matter of why didn't people sit there and just want to openly warm and embrace you. I spoke not too long ago online about the matter with people supporting and so on. Jefferson Davis eventually had Black people in the Confederate Army during the time of the Civil War. I have people who always talk to me about, oh, you talk about the history, you talk about the Abraham Lincoln thing. There is a reason why. But for those who know, no. You understand? That was a turning point in the country and so forth. The country, not saying that I'm American, but the country that I and my child was born into. So it's good to know certain things about it for reference purposes. All right. So now getting back to what we're talking about here in this particular stance. Recently, a person told me, well, I really can't speak about Trump, because I don't really know him. And I said to the person, well, even if he's elected, the Republican Party may get rid of him. Then the person stated, no, they won't because he's their God. So let me understand. You're saying the very same person, right? That you can't speak about Trump because you don't know him, like you don't know him personally. But then you're saying that the Republican Party won't have him be their man to be elected and then get rid of him, when in actuality they were talking about it in the past, for those who do know the history. What brings me to is this point here: Black people can't give up their rights. We are so used to seeing on a $1 bill, the $5 bill, no knock on Lincoln again, the $10 bill, the $20 bill, the $50 bill, the $100 bill. We're so used to we may have to sit back and think on what point and premise are we speaking upon this particular matter and so forth. You understand? And that is, we're not used to seeing anything outside of what is shown to us as a figure of authority, which is in actuality pretty sad in that case. We forget about the Central Park Five when he took out an article to sit there and speak against people who were found to be innocent. And to my knowledge, never came out with an apology because he doesn't think people who come maybe ethnically from what he calls shithole countries to deserve an apology. You understand, and say in that particular case. Your accomplishments, you did not complete the wall that you was talking about. You did not have a medical plan like all presidents come with, say, Obamacare or so forth and so on. You didn't have, correct me if I'm wrong, a Trump care. You understand? Your whole premise was always Obama did this, Obama did that. You was upset of the fact that the man maybe actually proved his birth certificate, which was something that you was writing upon and so forth. You spoke upon there being good people on, quote, both sides in the January 6th matter, in which there were some people who were killed and so forth. When the situation that wound up happening with your former VP, with your former staff, it did not work out in that particular case. Trump University did not sit there and work out. Your casinos wind up becoming known to be not the best, for the lack of a better term. So my point in all of that is, if you look at a resume of such, I will say this: if he was a brother, all of that would have been sat there and pointed out and definitely shown in that particular case regularly. You understand? But we believe that some people have a short attention span. Here's my point. The people who were chanting in New York and was happy when he was out of office and Biden came in, I remember that. Manhattan went into an uproar, literally. People was partying in the street and everything like that. But he will tell you sometime later that it was a rally for him in honor, and traffic was stopped say last year or something like that, or earlier this year, 2024, but such was not the case. You understand? There was, however, when 2020 came in, and he was no longer the president to be, and you got in your feelings and so forth, a big celebration in New York. So don't think, family, that people who did not like him and from 2016 until 2020 have a short attention span to where they will sit there and want to have that back in there and so forth. The lady that you see up there is, for the lack of a better term, and I say this in no disrespect to her, but I'm saying, a lady of color or a black woman. You may not know the power that we have. The price of perms, for instance, has gone down because sisters stopped using it. And why do I mention that? The fact that they are trying to make sure in the 1800s that we don't vote, and the fact that we have the economic and social power and ability to sit there and regulate how things are being done. But we think that somebody who is attacked, had threats made against them, is not the love of the people, cannot get along in his marriage, cannot sit there and complete a mission, whose universities failed, who decided to ride on Biden being an old man, and that was your point and premise, but now there is a person who's younger. And so now you're perhaps was saying, or you actually did speak upon saying, well, maybe they should apologize because now you don't know what to do. Again, you didn't know what you was walking into. The world is not about kissing your ass, man. You understand? Every person on earth is not a Tim Scott. Every person on earth is not a Byron Donalds. Where people are asked, well, would you accept the results of the election? And you can't say yes or no. People look at that, man. You understand? People pay attention. We as a people, all people too, cannot just sit back and egotistically think that we are the only ones who can sit there and say this person is not going to make it, but everybody else in the world just wants that to be the case. Such is not the case. What do I mean when I say even if the person is elected, they're not going to win? Is this Bush Jr., according to many matters, was not the winner. As a matter of fact, a news report actually stated that Gore won that presidency against Bush. And then hours later changed their results in that particular case. And Bush was not liked. Bush was not respected. Bush was having shoes thrown at him by people. Bush is known for the terrorism matters that ended up going down with Guantanamo Bay. So yeah, you was perhaps in some cases elected, but you're not a winner. And that is the difference between knowing what's going on, seeing what is going on, and again, just used to seeing their images on money or images as a supposed son of God on your wall since you was a child. So you can't sit back and think that, no, they're not winning in that case. You forgot he can't maintain a marriage. You forgot he denies his children. You forgot he talked about dating his daughter. You forgot people don't like and appeal to him. But you think that for some way, shape, form, or fashion, he's going to win. I remember people saying in 2020 that he was going to win. And people were like saying, nah. Now people saying, yeah, he's going to win. And now people still saying it's 2024 after a matter of 2 counts of being impeached, after a matter of all of the court cases that went against him, after the matter when he was going to pay the back money, but then the courts decided to not use the money on which and where he got it from. We forget all of that because we think and we believe that having that quote hope is going to be the standard as we have been seeing for over 200 years. Such is not the case, family. You understand? So these are just things wanted to point out for reference purposes. I'm not going to, in any shape, way, form, or fashion, attempt to be disrespectful. But at the same token, due to the recent conversation that I remember having, you're saying in closing out this speech, I can't really speak on Trump because I don't know him, but the party is not going to get rid of him because he's their man. Do you know these people that you're saying won't get rid of him? And if you don't know them, then how can you say you can't speak on Trump not knowing him, but you can speak on others whom you don't know? It's because you're so used to seeing that image as a leader. We have to change our mindset and become the leaders. So with that, have an excellent day, have a good day, and peace to you all. Thank you.